The last thing I need to do before I place this PCB order is to create some backplanes for my registers. And I want to do this in strips because I don't want to place an order for one large backplane. It's more cost effective to do several smaller backplanes and hook those together. So I'll end up creating a backplane that holds 6 registers on it. I'm planning 18 total for this build, so that will be 3 backplane strips wide and then some interconnects to connect all of that together so it becomes one large backplane that's simply connected all together. Let's get right into that. There's going to be a lot to do there. Hi, my name is Adam. I'm building a 16-bit computer from scratch. I hope you'll join me on this journey. Okay, so the first order of business here is to create a new project for the Register Backplane, and it helps if I spell that properly. And so I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and I'm going to build the schematic for this. I'm hoping to pull this together as a 2-layer board, not a 4-layer board. We'll see how well that goes. There's a number of things I'm going to need from the General Purpose Register schematic, so I'll open that just as a standalone instance here, and all of that is going to be these interconnects over here on the side, at least to start with. So I'm just going to copy those and paste those right into here, and then we can start massaging those a little bit. So the question then becomes, do I want pins or do I want sockets for the breadboard? And I think, or for the backplane, not breadboard. So I think I want sockets for everything on the backplane. So that means all of my pins here can go away and I will just stick with the sockets. That's part number 1. Part number 2 now is these 5 bundles of connections here need to be duplicated because I'm going to have one on each set of the board, left side and right side. This is going to be for interconnecting the strips together. Plus I'm going to have 6 different PCBs for registers plugged in, so I need 6 additional of those. Then let's zoom in here on the control signals. I need one group for each register, each of the 6 registers. But the key is that when I do these like this, they're all hooked together when I go to lay it out in the PCB. And so I don't want that to happen. I actually need to name these such that everything is properly identified to the specific register that it's going to. Now the clear signal is a little bit different, and that can be to every single register, but I am going to label these A, B, C, D, E, and F for each one of these control inputs here. Now for the control signals, that's one for each of the boards, and I need an input on the bottom as well. So each of those now need to be duplicated. So copy and paste works amazingly well for that. Each PCB, register PCB, has 2 powers, so I will need 6 pairs of 2. Again, those are all sockets, so that's good. I've made some notes as to what I want for each. So I've got all the interconnects. I need some additional powers along the left and right side. So I'm going to go ahead and put, let's just double this up. So I got power on the left and power on the right for at each PCB plus each of the PCBs themselves. Going back to my notes here, I've got a couple of interconnects that I need to put on there, and so I need to find some connectors for that. So let's start here with the, see if I can find a USB-B connector. I'll need one of those for input. So these pins are VCC and ground, and shield is also connected to ground. And then these are going to be remained unconnected. Then I need a couple of USB-A's for each. And again, these are going to be the same. Then I need to stick a capacitor in there, at least for the input. So the USB-B is going to be input. The USB-A is going to be output to additional boards. So I need a capacitor. So that fixes that up. So I've got, for every power connector, I should have a 47 microfarad capacitor there. Okay, the other one is this one over here that needs to be a 1000 microfarad. All right, so let's save that. Annotate everything. Run the electrical rules check. Everything looks good. It's all interconnects. It doesn't really have that big of a deal. I need to look at the footprints. Capacitor through hole. Should be radial. And I gotta measure. Okay, this is the capacitor that I believe I'm going to be using. It's a 1000 microfarad capacitor. It's upside down for you. Let's try it this way. 16 volt, 1000 microfarad. It's an electrolytic. And so if I measure here, 5.4 millimeters. Well, okay, so let's start with the diameter. Diameter is 10 millimeters. And that's showing 4.3 and 5.3, so I'm going to call it a 5.0. What I selected was this radial 10 millimeter wide, diameter 5 millimeter pitch on the leads, and we'll make that work if we have to bend the leads a little bit. These 47 microfarads are going to be SMDs, they're going to be 1206s, hand solder. The sockets all came over the way they were supposed to, so it's just my USB connectors. Ooh, I gotta find which one I'm actually gonna use. It's not gonna be a vertical connector, it's gonna be a horizontal connector. Well, let's see if that works. And then the USB-A is also gonna be a horizontal connector. Probably gonna be that. I am gonna have to source my components before I finalize that. All right, so that then saves all of my schematic. What I want to really get into is the PCB. Okay, let's get into the PCB design. All right, that looks like a big old mess of connectors. Okay, so the first thing I think I want to do is come out here to the General Purpose Register PCB, and I want to grab a copy of the footprint. Now, one of the things that I'm noticing is that it makes a difference where your cursor is when you copy and when you paste. So if I start from the corner, when I come back here and set my grid to be 1/10 of an inch, I'm pasting on the corner. So it jumps at 1/10 of an inch. I'm going to paste the second one, and then I'm going to paste a third one. Well, I really shouldn't paste the second one yet. Let's go back up here, open this up, and let's put this on the front silk screen. And then we'll paste another one of those. That should also be on the front silk. Same with that one. And then if I copy 3 and paste 3, what this now gives me is the footprints of the footprints of the 6 register PCBs that are now on the silkscreen layer, and then I can work around that in order to place everything else. Move down a little bit and in a little bit just to give myself a little bit more room. This is a USB-B, and this is going to sit up here somewhere as my input power, and I'm mindful of the courtyard here. I also want to take this capacitor and get it real close to, I'm trying to figure out exactly where all the different connectors are. And the key is to get the capacitor pretty close to the power input there. And then I've got two power outputs, and I'm going to move these up here as well. Now, I have a lot of jumpers to get in the right spot. So I think what the next thing to do is get these jumpers organized by what they are. Main bus, ALUA, ALUB, etc. And get those all moved around so that I can drag them into the right spot. All right, so let's put the main bus up on the top. Actually, let's start with power and ground. This deserves a little bit of commentary. I went and grabbed a copy of the connectors off the General Purpose Register PCB and pasted them here for reference. And then what I'm going to do is take a copy of each of the connectors I need to place in there and place it one position to the right of my reference connectors. That should then allow me to copy and paste and drop them right into position for each of those register PCBs. And then when I'm done, I'll just delete off the copies that I made off the General Purpose Register PCB. It helps to make sure that I get everything lined up properly. 733 unrouted signals. That's gonna be fun. Well, that connects 3 of the main bus connectors here. I've got lots more to do, some 700 unrouted traces. So fast forward's just not going to cut it. I'm going to continue this pattern all the way up the board, and then I'll come back with the next set. Okay, I've managed to start this section. I'm starting at the top, and we'll see how well all of this works out. And I apologize for the zoom in and zoom out. I know it can make people seasick, including me. And I generally don't get motion sick. But in all honesty, it is the easiest way to track some of these lines. All right, so what I want to show you is if I start up here and select, oh, didn't quite get up far enough here. Select everything I want to copy. Now I'm copying just the lines, but I'm going to end up with a lot more stuff that I have selected. Now if I use Control Shift, the cursor turns into this target with a minus sign, so I'm actually deselecting components that I don't want to copy. It leaves all my lines. I position over this top line here and I copy. When I paste, I'm now dragging that. I got one too many things. Shift click adds, Control Shift click subtract. That looks better. And now if I come down here and I find myself right in the middle of this, and I have just pasted another set of lines, and then I can paste down here, paste again, and you can see when I'm centered, I have this blue X that shows up in the middle of the target that I'm looking for. Now I might be able to paste here as well. Let's see what that comes up with. Oh, that's awesome. So what that allows me to do now is paste all the way up this side. You just have to spend a little bit more time lining up. Oh, I've got something that's unconnected. Well, I will say that that's a heck of a lot better than having to draw those lines one at a time. Well, I was awfully ambitious thinking I was going to be able to get all this done in one video. It's not going to happen. Even if I heavily edit it, there's still too much to get through. So I'll stop this here. I do have it mostly completed. I've got a few things I need to circle back and make sure that I touch up on in the process of editing these videos. I'm getting a good list of things that I need to circle back and make sure that I polish up properly. So next video will come relatively quickly. Certainly have it, most of the footage for it already filmed. So look for that, and I'll see you soon.